Wow.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the
Welcome.
stream. Welcome to the Dojocast Ep.5. We have special guest Donnieboots.
Hey, Donnie.
Hey guys, it's me, Hyun. How's it going?
Good to have you.
They swapped brains or some shit. I don't know. But we have, of course, us three hosts. I'm Hatena. We have Stone and Hyun.
Hello.
Hello.
It's good to be here again. Why are we in the playground, though?
We after that light snack at Sticky's, we just want to take a little break. You know, you gotta get your energy out somewhere.
That week-long snack at Sticky's. That
Yeah,
time works
there's a
differently
wide
for us
playground
in the stick
outside.
figure world.
Dude, these wood chips, I don't like the feeling of these wood chips, man. Like, I
They
hate
seem fresh though. They say it's got that nice,
it.
wood
Hey, but
flavor
why-
coming off them.
No, but why don't you get up then if you don't like it?
There's a free spot on the slide here.
It's good shade over here.
That's the only shade of the park.
That is good shade, I will
That
say.
Uh,
All right. Well, before we move on, we'll just go over a few quick announcements. Number one, we have the signature keychain. Still up.
Yes, Dojo merch is still up.
It is still
Keychains
up.
are still on sale.
Absolutely. How much
They
of
are
a
40
how much of a deal is that?
I mean, I think it's like 40% off right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a full metal keychain with the fancy Dojo logo. You can put on your keys. You can put on your backpack. You can. What else can you put it on?
Your
Yeah, you
hand.
can put it on everything. Yeah, you can put it on your hand.
Put it on
if
your
you have
hand, on
those
your
hoop ears,
finger.
if you have hoop earrings,
Oh yeah. You see, I do that all the time. You see that? That's my hand. That's actually my hand. I do that all the time. I just
Oh,
spin it on
wow.
my finger.
It's a
Fidget
fidget
spinner?
toy.
Oh,
Ah,
It
that's
makes like a nice
brilliant.
metallic noise as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Wait, actually, can you hear that?
oh, ASMR. All right,
Shit.
perfect.
But yeah, the link is in the description, you guys. If you want to get a keychain, also we have stick figure necklaces that are also on sale.
Wow.
Yeah, those are. I'm wearing one right now. It's very nice.
Whoa.
Love those.
Is that also
yeah.
you?
That is also me. Yeah, that is my chest.
Wow.
Dude,
I thought you
dude,
were a
chest
stick
not
figure.
included, guys. Chest not included.
Chestnut. Yeah, I'm not included.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, very nice. But we also have some other merch, don't we?
Yes, we do. I thought you were alluding to the other keychains. But
Oh
we
no, yeah,
have
screw those.
Today's guest,
Donnie.
Dude, look at this,
Yes.
dude.
I was just enjoying the
Donnieboots.
sunshine in this park. But yes, we are releasing some plushies. We have about 10 left in stock currently.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
wow.
There's only 10. There's
Only
only
10.
10.
Oh,
Holy
Is this
Look
the
at
first
the
wave?
troll hair.
is this the first drop of Cinder's plushie?
This is the first drop of the Cinder
Yo.
plushies.
He's
There will be
rocking
more
that.
eventually, but when more animations release, that's when we'll do more.
Rocking that
His-
Furby haircut.
His hair
He
is
is.
so silly.
The jacket
It
is
looks like
also
you just rubbed him
removable.
across the carpet.
He was just struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Just for quality, exactly.
That looks really
Alrighty.
cool, though. Yeah.
Yeah, you can also
Thank you,
find
guys.
this in the description.
Yep. There's only 10, so pick them up while you still can, you guys, if you're a Donnie fan.
Oh my God! Speaking of 10, okay, this is crazy. Hudson is 10 today. He turned 10.
Oh
years-
my!
Ooh.
My kid is
Happy
10,
birthday,
and it's
Happy birthday.
crazy to me that it just like, it seems like just yesterday that he was born, and now he's 10.
That's
He's
Which
which
is
the
the wildest
he's the
thing.
same age as Yo-Yo when he was separated from his brother.
Dude, he's ready for a story arc. I gotta
Uh-oh.
figure out how to make him a villain. I'm gonna take him outside and be like, all right, some bad's
That
gotta happen
you-
or something.
You
This is-
just gotta
Action
leave to get
begins.
milk.
Yeah, I'm gonna be right back forever. I'm not gonna
man.
die. I
Back
just wanna
until
be
you
here.
figure yourself out. Once you
I gotta
become a
give you your
man,
hero's
then I'll
journey.
come back.
Congratulations, you're double digits in age. Now you have to find me. Here
A
is your
little
hero's journey.
treasure hunt.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
speaking of hero, Mr. Donnie Boots here today. Donnie, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Just woke up from a nap early. Been waiting to for this
I
podcast.
I literally just woke up as well.
Although I wouldn't say I'm a hero of any sort. So
Well, I think to some you might be a hero, Donnie, because I do
Thank you,
get
son.
asked. This is a question I get asked frequently myself, or at least I did in the past, and this is probably a question that would be great for a lot of your viewers. As I know, if you're a fan of Hyun's Dojo, you've seen Donnieboots' work a few times featured on the YouTube with his Dojo Duelist Cinder.
Yeah,
And
I love Cinder.
I wonder
So-
what he could look like.
Donnie, what got you started in animation and in the community?
What initially got me started actually was Oxob versus Jade. There was a few months before that where I was binging like all of these stick figure animations, but it was once that one finally released, I think it was like the cinematics and the 3D aspect almost, which enticed me to actually pick up stick figures and make my own OC to join the community.
Were you already animating at that time?
No, I actually wasn't. I was just like a viewer for like 5 months before I actually decided to pick up the pen and start animating.
So you're kind of a local.
Wow.
Yeah, I say pen, but I was animating for the first 4 years. I used like a mouse.
Wow.
Very nice.
I mean, a lot of people started with like at least a while ago, forever ago. It
Yeah.
seems like mouse. That was
Yeah.
fairly normal. It was more It was definitely more like, whoa, you got a graphics tablet, because like to me the dividing line is when you started seeing graphics tablets at like Best Buy. Like when it was just like a thing that was at electronic stores regularly. But prior to that, it was like super rare for anyone to have a graphics tablet, and if they did, you kind of knew who did, because they would have a quantum leap in their quality really quickly, or they were already so good that you're like, there's no way that this is still mouse. There's no way he's struggling to get this level of quality out. So, I mean, it's cool that you can kind of like jump into that a little bit faster. But 4 years on a mouse, damn.
Yeah. Like
I went-
before entering the community, I didn't even know drawing tablets existed until I started doing my research.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
great though? When you found that out, you're like, what?
It is, yeah.
Unlimited power.
Bro, I went backwards because I started on the tablet and now I just animate on mouse because I'm just lazy.
Wow.
That's actually great, dude. So with that, how long ago did you start? You said Oxup versus Jade, and you waited about 5 months. So when was that? Do you know roughly how many years ago that was?
Roughly 7 years. I started when I was 13, 20 years old now, so.
13.
Seven. Yep.
years.
Oh,
Wee
yeah.
little Donnieboots. 13.
Wee
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Now I
Wow.
know this story, but I think it's actually really interesting. How did you get your name?
Oh, my name, actually. I got my name, or I entered the community as Retro, because I thought to be one of the cool guys or whatever it was, I needed something short and sweet, and I was trying to like discover what would work. So I was bouncing between names, and for a few years I stuck with Retro, but I didn't really feel like it connected with me, so I just went and used this nickname I got from middle school, and it was when I used to just wear boots going to school because my shoes ended up breaking, so.
Oh, so you actually wore boots.
Yeah,
And they
no, I
called you
wore
Donnie
boots.
Boots.
Like all year long, I wore boots, and my teacher gave me the nickname, and then everybody followed suit.
You're actually Donnie.
I did not know that. That's
Yep.
funny. That's hilarious.
Interesting.
And then it just felt right, because then you're like, all
Yeah,
right,
it
this
did
is
feel
my
right.
name. This is like, this is me now.
A funny little story behind the name, and I just thought, yeah, it was me, so I decided to make that change, and now mostly everybody knows me as Donnieboots. But there's a few stragglers out there who still call me Retro.
Oh, exposing you.
Yeah.
So do we have a spotlight for today? This is Soto. This is Shadow Manipulator by the RecruitBoi. I have
Yeah,
not.
you
seen this
guys
yet.
haven't seen this yet, right? I've
No,
seen
I
this.
have not.
So
I've seen part of it.
yeah,
Dude.
Donnie apparently has seen it. Me and
I
Stone
love
are going
this.
in blind.
Twice.
I love this because it's so different, and I think you guys will like know what I'm talking about after you watch it. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I
thumbnail had
think
me
I
ripped.
might have seen this person screen sharing their work like once, and it looked like a really intriguing style. I could tell from the thumbnail that it was the same person, but I can't
Yeah.
say I've actually seen the animation.
It's really good.
All right, I'll just play it. Y'all can hear it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hello, ladies. So it's you. This is about the bounty hunting thing, right?
This is in 3D, right?
No,
This
it's
is Blend-
3D.
This is
Wait,
Blender.
this is 2D?
Whoa.
This is
No, that's
Blender,
3D.
yeah.
That's 3D.
That's
This is
3D,
Blender.
yeah.
This is Blender.
What? It's a crazy style. Ooh. Utilizing silhouettes, I like it. Whoa.
I like the colors a lot.
Really energetic.
Coins. Oh, the cityscape is
Yeah,
nuts.
I think the style is really where this thing shines.
You really want that back.
I want to fight this dude.
Yo, the distortion on it's cool.
Xbox must be acting up. Wait, what?
Wait, what?
I love the voice acting. That has to be my favorite part of this.
Alright.
Strings of theocracy.
It's almost comical. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Whoa.
It's so stylish.
Oh, it's so short.
It's definitely something really different, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
want-
it. I love
I
it.
wanted that to go on for longer.
Yeah,
It's
you can
kind
run
of
it back.
interesting to watch. Like,
Yeah, we
I
can run
just
it
wanna
back.
Fight this guy.
We watched if you watched him animating it in Blender and you look at his file in 3D, it is so chaotic. I don't even know how.
Dude,
Oh, wow.
I did actually get a chance to
I
see
love the
his files. They're nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I think their use of shadows and silhouettes, especially in the first half of the animation, is brilliant.
Yeah, it's got a really
Yeah.
strong theme. I don't know how I would characterize the theme, but it's like
Yeah, I mean, it's got brilliant
stylish.
line boils as well.
Yeah, the boils. It's like so thick,
Oh.
and it's like
It's
Wait,
very
what's a
stylistic. I will say the animation isn't particularly very smooth, especially in this section right here. It
Right.
feels a little rough, but I think the style and
Yeah,
the
it's the
confidence
style.
of it all kind of overcomes that.
yeah,
oh yeah, for sure.
it somehow feeds into that as a strength.
Yeah, especially here. I think it really applies here. It feels very intentional.
Right?
I like the not so serious aspect of it when he like realizes he's stuttering or whatever else. The hard shadow.
Yeah.
dissipate.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so that was by what was his name again?
The
the Recruit Boy.
The
The
RecruitBoi.
RecruitBoi.
Yeah, so I
Well
can't wait
done,
to
dude.
see
Excited
what
to
else
see more
he
from him. Yeah.
what else he does in the future.
Wow,
Yeah, so this
that
is
was really
this actually
good.
brings up the kind of title or theme of today's video, and it's a little bit of a. I think it's going to be a hot ticket because the term G-stick to me is a new term. I know it's something that is.
Yeah.
I know that is a thing that is more common and more known, and I know it to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's glorified stick figure, right? G-stick.
Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Okay.
But I don't think there's like a specific definition for it. Like
No.
what I see G sticks is basically like a stick figure that has like full body characteristics, like a face or like a little bit of anatomy.
Like a face?
Maybe
Wait a
some
minute.
fingers, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean,
thought I did stick figures.
Who made
until
that
we had this
describe?
conversation.
we were kind of wondering like, is Donnieboots Cinder animation are like, is he a G stick? Like we're not.
Well,
too
yeah, like,
sure,
when
but
we were
it
coming
could
up with
be.
the topics for this episode, and we kind of very confidently said, "Yeah, G-stick," and then Donnie joined one of our calls, and he was like, "Wait, no, I don't really call what I do G-stick."
Yeah, I usually, when I think G-stick, I usually think somebody like Gilded Guy is like prime definition for it with line work and stuff, you know?
I don't see that as a G stick.
Really?
Yeah,
I
I kind of.
actually
Yeah,
think
go
it's-
ahead.
But they're like, there's a line there, right? Like there is a fairly broad gray area, and it's up for interpretation.
It
Yeah.
definitely is because there's no like defined or no definition of it really. It's just playing it by ear, seeing what really is G-stick. But I don't know. I never thought like what I did was G-stick personally because it's still usually single brush strokes and stuff.
Yeah,
When it
I
comes
think.
to perspective and stuff, I can expand on it a little more. But someone like Gilded Guy, usually with the outlines and who is drawing his frames, I thought that was like the real definition for what a G-stick is.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, the first time I was introduced to that term was like on Twitter, of those like Chinese artists and Korean artists,
Mhm.
and they like make those like super detailed anime styled stick figures. So like that's what I thought what G Stick was, but like I don't know if you look at like Donnie's animation and Gilguy's animation, like I feel like that still classifies, but it's kind of like on the more stick figure side of G Stick. You know what I mean?
Mhm. There's like an umbrella term for it, I guess, or a spectrum or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the first topic we had today was, at what point are you considering moving on to full body, and not just you necessarily, Donnie, but like in general, no, I will direct it to you. Like, why not move on to full body, or what keeps you interested in what I have is G Stick, but or more so what you're currently doing, which is stick figure or G Stick, somewhere in the middle. What keeps you here rather than moving into more full body work?
Two very big reasons. I find stick figures very appealing, but I feel like the second one a lot of people can resonate with is it just takes so much time to do full body animation. So if I were to do like Cinder versus Benjamin, that would take me like a year or two to actually get done. So time constraints are a big thing, but also I really just enjoy the medium of stick figures itself. It's a very appealing and simple style to just like expand on the choreography rather than trying to take my time doing the extreme detail of a hand or something.
Yeah.
And that's what I find really fun. And there's also no need for me to leave it either, because there's also like money and stuff to be made in it. But I had this feeling before when I was earlier in the community that I had to move on to full body, and it was something I struggled with, and that's kind of when I wanted to I was practicing, I was considering dropping duels and stuff to try and be professional. But then I realized later on that there's really no need for me to leave. There was just like this pressure I almost put on myself, but the stick figures and everything, they work just fine in animation, both professionally and just unprofessionally having fun with them.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
to me, that's validating. Go ahead, Hyun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I think there's, I mean, in my opinion, for the general audience, I think there's like a higher appeal for G sticks over kind of like regular stick figures, because you can just put so much more emotions and feeling into those stick figures. So yeah, I think that is a good point where there's a lot more appeal for that.
They have a lot more tools at their disposal, having the features that they have for storytelling. I think that's a big benefit, is that yes, you can tell a story with regular stick figures, but even going back to, let's say, a time well before G Stick was a term at all, if you look at something like the Castle series this could be a deep cut for some people, or even Joe Zombie. Those were definitely stick figures, but they still had a lot more elements than your average stick figure animation, and with that they had more cinematics, they had a more much more of a plot and storyline. And so I think if you as an animator really lean towards wanting to tell a story but you still want to be in stick figures, I think G6 is the perfect marriage of that world. And you really don't have to move on if you don't want to, and you're not having goals or aspirations for like working under a specific studio or anything. There's now more than ever multitude of various different individuals who have been successful staying within stick figures. Now, that is a small percentage of the overall people who are successful as a whole on online original media, but still they're there. I think back when I dealt with that pressure a lot, there was literally nobody. It was first of all, like, even just doing YouTube wasn't even a thing, period. Like, the entirety of it wasn't a real thing. So to think that you can stay in stick figures as a job was like, that's a joke. Because barely animating at a high level, unless you were at a actual show, it wasn't even a real thing. So I think now more than ever, you have kind of some ground to stand on to say, that's okay. I don't have to quote unquote move on. And at this point, I don't see it as like the natural next step. I can see it as a parallel, because there's such a high level of quality that can be obtained, whether you're doing regular stick figures or G stick, that it can parallel a lot of full body work that's out there that's successful online. So I think they're a lot more running alongside each other than a natural staircase that I think that was perceived before.
Yeah, like I think like stick figures in itself is pretty niche in a sense, but I feel like a lot of niche things, as long as the community is like really strong, then yeah, there's a lot of potential for that. Right?
Absolutely. You know, and then it's only going to continue to grow as it stands. The more inspiring animations that go out, um, pretty much every animator we've interviewed so far, and pretty much any animator I've ever met, is triggered by an animation. There is an animation at some given point that was the last straw on the camel's back that got them to actively pursue the next step, whether it's okay, what programmer they're using, I'm downloading it right now, or going and getting a graphics tablet. There's an animation that someone has watched that typically was the last thing that got them into it. And as we have more and more people getting into animation in at Hyun's Dojo or otherwise, and publishing work that's inspiring more people, I feel like there is this momentum that is pushing it forward more and more, and you don't really get to see or understand that until you've been in it long enough. But as I'm seeing things that are coming out that are really, 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 really like at a high next level, or like it's definitely going to be when these things come out 5 years later, it's gonna be something that people are gonna reference back again and be like, oh my god, just much like how Donnie was talking about how he saw, Oxalab versus Jay, and it was like a core thing for him. You're gonna see that effect of the things that are out right now years down the line, because we're gonna be talking to someone else that's like, yeah, I saw Cinder versus Nadolrak, and I was just floored, and I had to go figure out right then and there. And when those kind of videos get more and more views, you get a certain percentage of those people are going to be getting into animation because of it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way that it just continues to like fold on top of itself.
True.
Definitely. It's funny you say that too. Like I was inspired by Oxlub and Jade, but I've even met some people who were inspired by some of my earlier animations, like Cinder versus Matilda. But sort of bringing the conversation back to stick figures and full body, I'm still trying to improve within this medium too, but I think this new philosophy I've sort of kept while going through with stick figures is trying to push stick figures to their limits, while still sort of remaining in that gray area of what stick figures are, whether it be cinematics, rendering, visual effects, and everything really going in tandem with everything else. And voice acting too is more of a recent thing for me, and I've experimented
True.
with some people, and Jake.
How was that? Like implementing voice acting and like writing a script and all that. Yeah, so like how was that getting into that?
It is it's very interesting to say the least, but where I really found most of my voice actors, there was this one professional voice actor who enjoyed stick figure animation. So
Oh,
he
really?
reached out to me through Twitter, and we began to talk, and I started Cinder versus Benjamin randomly when he DM'd me on Discord, which was funny, because it's like I never would have expected just coming home from the gym to just see this DM of this person in this like old Nemesis clan that I used to really enjoy, like wanting to suddenly duel me. And then he was like, "Oh, actually, I came from Hyun. He actually just let me know that you were apparently
Yeah,
like
dude.
bigger dueler here." So
He
I was like,
randomly
"Okay."
DM'd me too, and I was like, and he was like, dude, I want to fight the best guy out here. Lead me to him. I was like, yo, Donnieboots is always like freaking wanting to fight people, so should get
It's
it.
funny because I didn't even recognize him at first. I knew who Benjamin was, but his Discord tag didn't register. It was actually my
Yeah.
partner who noticed, and they're like, "Wait, that's Benjamin from Nemesis." I was like, "What?" So we started talking, and then I just came up with like this quick idea of what to do. We started dueling, and it was a month and a half later, Cinder versus Benjamin came out. But
That's
working with voice actors,
yeah.
um, yeah, working with voice actors is interesting. Most of the time, I kind of play it by ear. I write out like a rough script for an idea in mind. But more recently, what I've been doing is I kind of just storyboard the animation. As I'm doing that, I really just put the text and script within that, and then I would send
Oh,
that off to
okay.
my voice actors.
And would
Because
they
as
like watch
much,
it and then like voice
yeah,
over it at the same time? Oh, okay,
Interesting.
that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
because I could explain it through text. I can say, "Oh, this is what you're supposed to feel."
Yeah.
But for me, that's a little difficult to try and visualize. So if I animate it and they can see the characters interacting in real time, they kind of get an idea as to what to do, voice acting wise. So
Gotcha. So I actually hit with like I have things to say because I've been working on
Yep.
a movie called Gravy, or I'm sorry, Gravity. Um, and I've been
Callback.
aiming to do
Gotta give 'em
voice
credit.
acting for the whole thing, and we just recently, in the last like 2 or 3 months, we finished writing the whole script, and now we're currently storyboarding everything. And I've heard from the professional animation industry that how typically voice acting is done and how we're going to try it is that we do what are called scratch vocals or scratch audio, where you get the people who were directing the storyboards or someone a little higher up in that pipeline, but not specifically the voice actors, people who understand the energy and the dialogue between characters, and they give them like temporary vocals to be put in place for the voice actors to like reference in a sense.
Yeah,
Have you
I've seen
considered doing something like that, or are you perfectly fine with how you've been operating with your VAs?
I'm trying to find a way to make it more efficient because we have like 4 projects currently being juggled. And the thing is, I went ahead normally with the scripts and I would give it to them. So I have like voice acting for 3 projects right now that are just backed up, and I have to like catch up with the animation. But the
Gotcha.
new way I've been trying to do it is I want to make the storyboard first. I want to give it to them, and then with the storyboard, I can hand it off to some of my friends to continue working on that as well. And with Nuldrak, actually, is the first time I think that I've had help with an animation. So I had people like Steel and Kydward help me clean up some of the scenes and choreograph some stuff. It was pretty fun to do that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
the
so
funny
you got
thing
like
about yeah,
so
like
you got like a whole production pipeline going on then, like a little team.
yeah, it's it is. They're all really good people. I think I'm struggling with it because the thing is, I still have this habit of trying to carry everything myself. So it's a matter
Yeah.
of trying to delegate that work and actually put that trust in other people to animate too. But
Mm.
it's a lot of fun and it's interesting to explore too because it's a collaboration in a sense, and I've never really done those myself. But
Ooh.
the funny thing with Nuldrak actually is it's been in production for like 2 years. I started it when I was 18 and I just finished it a couple months ago.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I heard you started that over many times. Is that
yeah,
true?
I did. It is true. There's actually like 5 minutes of animation that has not been used. There was a literal dragon I had animated that I did not use. There was 3 or 4 like 1 minute fight scenes in there that I had to scrap because I didn't like how they turned out.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
That's crazy.
when I picked this project up just a few months ago, there was like 4 to 5 minutes of a base, so we had to like within 2 months add an extra 5 minutes. But I think it definitely wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for the friends around me and the people helping me out. But the reason I even picked up the project anyways was my partner Omnidad actually pushed me to try and pick it up because there was so much work that was just not shown to the public yet. So it was very
Wow.
fun to publish it finally.
Yeah,
Something
very
that I'm
nice.
curious about is your lip sync animation. That's something I personally find really fun to animate. And you seem to be pretty good at it, and I'd like to know your stance on it. Like, how'd you learn it? How'd you start to implement it? And do you like animating it? Because from what I
Um,
know in this community, lip sync is like the devil
Oh
I
yeah.
for a lot of
actually
people in this community. But I love it.
it hurts a lot. That's all I can
Oh,
say. Like it hurts a lot to animate. Like when I watch my animation, like even this animation, I try not to be too critical of it so I can just enjoy it myself. But there's a
hmm.
lot of things that I can kind of point out and say this is where I could have done better. But where I've really learned it, I think it was mostly just story time animators like Domix mostly,
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
kind of just playing it by that. But I could definitely do it a lot better in the future, and I think I will try and hone my skills further in that too.
It does make a difference though. Like you can
Yeah, it
tell.
does.
Yeah.
Oh
Gives
yeah.
it a lot more emotions.
It's very immersive. Like to me, Cinder has so much flavor as a character, but now he's so real because of the voice acting takes to that next step where like I can identify his voice even if he's not on screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's already got a consistency to it that's him now. It sounds like him, looks like him. It feeds into like the characterization that you've already given him so much. that it really, really helps bring that together. But one point I wanted to get on to for the voice acting was you talked about how you actually animate it first, and then you give it to the voice actors, and then they voice it overlaying on top of your animation as they're watching it, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean then when you get the file back, when they got the file, did it already have the lip sync on it, or do you animate the mouths after?
I animate the mouths after. Another thing that changes too is the timing. I don't usually have music or anything set out. So usually it's like, hey, don't worry about the timing. Don't try and keep up or slow down.
Oh,
for the scene.
nice.
So I'll just
Okay.
adjust it as it goes. Yeah. So that's
So it's a
another
little
thing
bit more in the middle then. It's not as rigid. You know, like so for voice actors that do voice acting work for like animes, for instance, translating it from a different language to English, they don't have the luxury of like delaying a portion, and sometimes the translations don't really match up, and they have to like freestyle or change a little bit here and there. But this is kind of like you're something in the middle where you're like, okay, well, here is the scene. This is what it looks like and feels like. Deliver these lines, but deliver in a natural way that you would actually deliver it without constraints, and then you go through and you frame it out, you know, the gaps or whatever in the, you know, however their cadence is for delivering the line, and then from there you're adding the actual mouth to it. That makes a lot of sense to me, because when you said that, I was like, you can go either way with that. But I was like, in my head, I'm like thinking, you write out, now imagine if you're Donnie here, you write out 10 words, right? And then in those 10 words, it's executed in like 4 seconds. Now, you're going to have to predict how the mouth is actually going to be moving if you're actually going for, you know, actively positioning your face a certain way for the lip syncing. And that's another reason why, like in anime, the mouths kind of just like bob open, and they don't like have a lot of times distinct, you know, lip changes or facial changes as they're delivering words. So that way, as it's translated into different languages, it's kind of safe. But you can tell that yours actually does acknowledge the words the way that they are delivered. It's not just purely, you know, mouth open, mouth closed type thing, kind of like how we are on the slide here. But that's interesting. That's also, it's all part of selling the illusion and being more immersive. And I think that detail of actually taking the time, because that is an extra step. That is an extra step, both involved on, well, more so for you, of being like, okay, here's the scene, you know, deliver it with these lines, and then you actually get to choose the best delivery. Because sometimes, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong here. When you send a line to a voice actor, what is the file like when you get it back? Is it like one take, or does he say the same thing like a bunch of times? What does that look like?
It's different for like each voice actor. Like some voice actors, they would give me the script where they read everything over once. They would pause it. They would read it over again in a different tone. They would pause it. But for someone like the Cinder voice actor, Jake, he is this big fucking troll. Oops, I'm not supposed to swear, but he is this big troll when it comes to voice acting, because he will give me this 10-minute file, and I got to listen through all of it, and it's usually pretty broken up with all of these like noises like meshed in between. So we're friends though. It's fun, but it's different for everybody. But for the most part, what you described is what I get. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But also another thing too is it's not paid, so I don't want to be asking everybody for too much. So I think the freedom makes it easy. But another thing is I don't sync my animations a whole lot, so I don't really care too much if the timing is slower or faster, as long as it fits the voice acting.
Right.
With Nuldrek, actually, originally it was synced to a song, but then I desynced it after I changed the song. And then again, I changed the song. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm offended,
So
by the way.
that's like very, very secondary to you, as long as the voice actors and the animation take priority.
Yeah. Cinder vs. Matilda was a little more synced though. Like there was some scenes where it's almost synced to the T. But ever since I got the voice acting, I think that has definitely taken priority. But I don't mind at all because it adds so much character to these stick figures.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah. Very cool.
Interesting.
Should we take a slight break
Let's
and
look
see
at
some art features from our community?
I want to look at art. Ooh. This guy.
Oh,
Yo,
this is fun.
okay.
Oh my god.
Ooh, this
So,
guy
okay.
arted.
Amazing.
Is this like definitely in the bucket of G-Stick? Is this like
Yeah, this
I think so,
this
yeah.
is definitely G-Stick.
This
Right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So,
can see they
I mean,
got, like,
they're
an
almost
anime-
humanoid. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
So-
think if the heads just aren't round, if they weren't round and had ears, they're immediately just a full body drawing. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you say, Donnie?
This is a bit of a question for Hyun, but
Yeah.
most art I've seen of one, he usually has pretty long hair. Is this a
Oh.
decision you've made, or one just like
Ooh.
the fandom has kind of picked
like
up
that.
itself?
Honestly, I want to say he's bald, but I think the fandom has more power of my character than I do.
Awesome.
Because yeah, dude, there's so much fan art that can just draw my character better than I can. So I'm just
Well, no,
think
didn't
I
you
was
make
just
a
going with it.
tweet one time where you
I
posted a
did,
more
I
stylized
did, dude.
version?
I wish you didn't
I-
remember that.
No,
wish
I
you didn't
remember it.
that.
I remember it. I'm holding you against that. Do you regret
Oh
that?
my
Is that what
God.
you're telling me?
No, I don't. I don't. So it was like a random spur of the moment thing. I was like, oh, maybe I should give him some long hair or something, and everyone went
Yeah.
crazy. And
Yeah, that's definitely what
that's kind
inspired
of how
it.
that's kind of how it went down. So, yeah, he
Secondary
does have
motion,
long hair.
dude. Secondary motion is
Awesome.
so fun in stick figures, like scarves, ribbons, hair. Just like it adds such an insane level to every motion. Tails, anything that adds secondary motion is so much fun.
Oh yeah.
So I think hair is a good choice.
The hair is definitely going to be fun to animate when I do get around to doing one. I have scripts written
Spoilers.
out for like, oh yeah,
No, I'm
spoilers
kidding, I'm
indeed.
kidding.
I have like I have scripts written out for like 6 more duels in the future. But I think it is going to be
Wow.
fun to like find the voice actors and do like my own version of these designs for these characters. But yeah, looking back at this art, it looks really incredible, and I love the rendering of it.
Yeah, very nice. Damn it, where do you get those
Wonderful.
shoes though?
Yeah, those are some
Next.
Donnie boots right there, dude. So this
Ooh,
is
nice.
Yumo 1010.
Oh, is it? Oh, I
The
thought that was
artist.
the name of the character. That's the artist.
Oh, I mean, is it
I
the
thought.
artist?
Well, no,
Yumo
I thought
1010?
for it. Yeah, that's the artist. I thought I forgot to put a credit, but yeah, that's just the artist.
Oh. What am I looking at? I mean, it's sick. It's like they're like cryo chambers escape or something like that. This guy's got like magnetically levitating some
Jesus, science experiment.
pillar or something. It's like
Yeah.
things
It reminds
growing in
me
the
of
background.
Mewtwo.
It
Oh
does.
in the
yeah,
movie.
it's like
It's
it's like
really
Mewtwo,
interesting.
and like I don't know, something about like Metal Gear. There's something about the style that reminds me of Metal Gear somehow.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
why.
I can see that.
There's
The
some
hands are
other
sick.
there's some other characters in the back.
It's really interesting. I like the flesh mixed with like the mechanical techie stuff too. I think it's a really
Yeah.
interesting aesthetic.
God, look at those quads.
Great anatomy too. Like
Yeah.
fantastic.
I like the finger. I like the fingers on his left hand, is the one that's like holding
Yeah.
the object.
Yeah. That's
Never.
good.
I can't
Next.
do hands, man. Mittens. Yo!
The
We got
scale on
another
this
one
is
from Zion.
fantastic.
Oh, it's so pretty. I love that. It's like a cityscape, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those clouds are like somehow they're futuristic clouds, which to me seems like a dumb thing to say because like clouds should be clouds forever, right? Like there shouldn't be future clouds, but those somehow look like cool, stylized, maybe just not Earth clouds.
Wait, do you know whose characters those are?
Those are Zion's characters, I believe.
Oh,
I
that's
do
really cool.
follow them, and I believe I see. I know the one on the right is theirs for sure. I'm not 100% certain on the one on the left, but I'm pretty sure they both belong
It's like
to
a
Zion.
post-apocalyptic
That's really cool.
scene.
I love
The color palette
atmospheric
is so
ambience.
good.
Oh, it's very bright and vibrant. I
love it so
kind
much.
of stole them for my movie project. So
Let's go.
they're doing backgrounds for that.
Getting poached, bro.
Clouds right now. They don't know.
Getting punched. All right, next.
No,
Okay.
wait, is this Star Wars? No way.
Arthur Dutchman. It's
I don't
like
think it's Star Wars.
Star
I
Wars
like the little
inspired,
TV
maybe because
guy.
that TV guy is definitely not Star Wars from at least what I know.
It looks like in the same universe.
It does
Yeah.
though.
I love Star Wars.
Apocalyptic,
It's a little sci-fi.
futuristic. Yeah, very nice. I love it.
Some Bob
It's
Ross.
very
rendering.
good.
Good
Mhm.
snowy scene. That's very cool. Arthur
yeah.
Dutchman.
It's very good. Very nice.
Was
Like
that the
how,
last one?
I like how saturated a lot of these colors feel.
Yeah.
And the hard contrast from like the shadow right to like the what's in the sunlight directly. I think
Yeah.
that's something I struggle a lot with when it comes to doing backgrounds because I'm too afraid to take that big leap from something dark to immediately bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, that's some good art.
Yeah, so if you guys wanted your art featured in a future episode, just join our Discord server and then post your art in the art portal. And then if it gets featured, it will possibly show up in the next podcast.
Perfect.
Indeed.
So-
Alrighty.
Kind of going back to what we were talking about before, you know, and Donnie, you actually do something that is, I think, is partly why you're successful so far in what you put out, and why you'll also be successful in the future, is your ability to stick to and plan larger projects, which I've seen a ton of incredibly talented animators that really never make anything more than 15 seconds long. Like, they permanently will just make an amazing, incredible, nonsensical test and then stop. And it's not typically by design, by the sense of like, oh, they just hate doing anything longer. A lot of times they would love to, or they'll attempt to do a bigger project, and it just kind of like loses steam, and that fuel that they had that makes those really incredible 20-second shorts or whatever just kind of like dissolves their ability to execute like a big full-scale project. So I was wondering if you could kind of speak to us a little bit about how do you go about planning like a big compelling story or a big project? Do you have like everything kind of like mapped out and drawn out in storyboards, or is it more like kind of like straightforward moving as you go? What are like some of the building blocks of like, you know, if you're starting a new animation today against another character, what is some of like your first steps?
So my first steps, I feel like usually when I'm taking smaller steps, it's pretty random. I can step in a certain direction. But how I do my storytelling is I basically have the ending of Cinder and everything like all mapped out. But it's just in these big plot points, and then everything else in between I don't figure out. I can just walk my way there however I get there through these smaller duels until we reach these big like,
Wait a
points in
minute.
the story.
Okay,
So
you have like a general story arc for Cinder already
Yeah.
mapped out somewhat, and then you're just fitting in the duels into part of the story arc of where he's at.
Yeah. So it keeps a sense of novelty. I don't want to just be going through every single script planned out till I'm done.
Right.
So a lot of it, I'm still going to be doing a lot of planning, a lot of where I'm still kind of going, because it matters a lot. But there's a general direction I'm following, and as long as I hit these points, I think that's kind of how I do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed like between your duels, like they're not really like in order, right? It's kind of
No,
like
they're not.
episodic.
The thing is, like these, any of these big plot points that I've planned out, I've had them planned out roughly for a few years now. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I have not even really hit on them until recently. I think
Got
Cinder
it.
versus Nuldrak was the first one where I actually introduced some story significance and character acting.
Yeah.
It was partly because I wasn't entirely confident in stick figures or like in my animation,
Mm-hmm.
but also I just had a lot of fun making these shorter 2-minute animations where they would just fight it out and stuff. But
That's
what-
funny
what-
that you say like shorter 2 minutes, because not a lot
Yeah.
of people can even make 2 minute animations.
Yeah, 2 minutes was like, dude, like anything past 30 seconds was like quote unquote full length. 30
Yeah.
seconds was like, damn, you better put credits on this, and they better be at least about 30 seconds long also.
Yeah. Another thing I feel like that may have helped me too was it drags the conversation back to like full body and stick figures and stuff. And I had pressure on me before when I tried to step out of duels after Matilda, where it's like, okay, I'm having fun with animation, but I got to be professional.
Yeah.
And it was like after I moved and tried to do full body and leave like the dueling scene, I felt like I just wasn't having fun, and I was ripping it out. Like, you know, I had these expectations I was putting on myself, but after I realized that you could just have fun with the stick figures, you could even monetize them. Like my first commission was this Supreme Duelist Stickman thing, and that was incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, after I really just removed those like that limitation and the judgment from myself from these expectations, I think I was really able to just like go into stick figures and have a lot of fun with it. You know, like it's like I don't need to go beyond this if I don't want to because it's working for me. So why do I need to change it? You know?
Exactly.
Very true.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
had this discussion last night that it's like a lot of the limitations that stop you from putting work out or just doing exactly what you're happy doing already is usually external forces that kind of like infect your brain. You know, someone telling you like, why aren't you doing full body? Or, hey, can you make this animation instead? And then you start moving forward into the thing that you already were happy doing exactly as you were doing it. And then something tries to jump in front of you mentally, and you're like, oh, should I be doing something else? Maybe they're right. Oh, maybe I should do this thing or that thing. And then you start second guessing yourselves. I think having the ability to be confident to chase the thing that's bringing you joy without any kind of limitations or expectations upon yourself is a critical key to success, especially when working on a bigger project or in your case, like a story arc, you know? I think that's a very, very, very valuable skill, arguably more valuable than even animation talent. Because if you're able to output complete compelling stories or even not stories, just animations, and maybe you lack some of the talent or skill currently, just having that in your backbone over time you will get there. You know, having the ability to execute bigger projects like that is going to get you where you need to go, and it is a super, because it's the amount of effort and confidence that goes into it and willingness to put it out when you're done, because it's scary. Putting your stuff out there is scary, especially after you've, you know, worked on it so hard. And by the time you're working on something large, a lot of times, that, at least my biggest fear, I don't know, Donnie, if you've experienced this, maybe you can go on about it a little bit, but like getting towards the end of a project, and you have actively now improved to such an extent that when you look back at the beginning of when you started the project, you're like, oh my God, I should just lap back and redo this. Have you had a scenario where you're like, I can't show the first 3 minutes of this now. I have to go redo it because it's unacceptable for where I'm at now.
That was literally Cinder versus Nuldrak. Like I had to redo so much of that because I felt I improved too much. But like moving to full body for a time, like I can do full body animation if I wanted to. But I think even stepping into that to really learn how to do it increased my tolerance for doing stick figure animation. So now I can kind of put more detail into stick figures and say, well, it's not taking as long as full body, and it's like I don't feel restricted like I used to, really trying to free myself of that mindset. But I think putting myself under the weight of a lot more animation, like full body or however I'll do it, I think it does increase that tolerance and being able to take on a big 10-minute project or even more.
10 minutes.
I mean, yeah, Noldrax was like 11 minutes long, right?
Yeah, it was around there. I think without the credits, it was like 10 minutes.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And how long did you work on that? Roughly, you said?
Roughly, I worked on it for like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot. Like it's like whenever I do an animation, I feel like it's a puzzle, and it's like you have a bunch of mini micro puzzles you have to solve along the way. And one of the biggest pieces, most difficult pieces to completing it is just staying with the same thing, staying on the same puzzle for 2 years. Like it's so much more enticing to open a new box and start a pretty new one where you just find all the corners again and you have this big sense of accomplishment all quick and fast. And that's what happens to so many people is they want to open up that new puzzle again. They have a new idea. They want to just like strip the weight and the heaviness of all the complications and difficulties that they've come into and where they're at in their animation or their puzzle, because they can't find this certain area of these pieces anymore. They don't have the solution to this issue. And it just sounds so enticing. Just blank canvas, start again, and have all, free reign to just start over. So sticking to a project like that not only is very rewarding as an artist when you get to put it out, but incredible skill to have.
Yeah. And I currently, my workflow is similar to Nuldrak because I'm working on the 10th duel right now, and that's been in production for like the past year and a half too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So there's like a few more animation or a few more minutes of animation there that I'm actually scrapping too because I'm not happy with how it came out.
Wow.
But we're redoing things there, and I was just about to say something, but I forgot it.
Oh, you could maybe we'll come back.
Brain
But,
fart. Okay.
dude, I get the same thing too. Like if you're working on
Yeah.
a project for too long, you kind of get numb to it.
Oh,
Well,
I remember. Oh.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so Cinder versus Nuldrek was actually supposed to be my third duel. But the funny thing about that is if you were to actually look at my record, there is no third duel. Because
Oh,
Cinder versus
really?
Nuldrek was actually kind of bumped up all the way to the 9th spot.
Wow.
Interesting.
There technically is a third duel, but the file corrupted and I lost like 5 minutes worth of animation, so I couldn't upload it anymore.
Rest in
But-
peace. Rest in
Oh,
Yeah, there's like remnants of it on my channel, but it's only about like 30 seconds worth, and I lost all of it, so
peace.
it's a little unfortunate. And then I haven't experienced the same issue though when I moved to Adobe Animate. It was like Flash 8 and Adobe CS6 and stuff were the ones that were really crashy for me.
right.
Yeah, those are the ones that corrupt the most in my experience.
Yes.
It's disheartening.
And the funny thing too about my first duel, I was still in high school, I think, doing it. Cinder versus Certex. I worked on it for like a month straight. Like every time I wasn't at school, I was animating it. And I made like 5 minutes worth, or it was like 5,000 frames worth of it. And what happened was the entire thing corrupted. So the first 4 or 3 minutes of that animation are all from like one old save MP4 that I just had laying around. So I was able to
Oh,
salvage
my.
it, thankfully.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so difficult. It is like losing a project. You losing any amount of anything you're working on, especially when it feels good. Like if you were in flow state and animating and you really are like really happy with it, to lose it feels so incredibly devastating because you have this sense of like, not only do you not have that progress anymore, but can you even recreate your magic? Do you even remember the steps you took for the things that you lost? You know, because like where something you're doing, Donnie, you're planning it out and you're storyboarding it, and you might still have your storyboard from the previous version, but the execution, however, even though it is mapped out, doesn't mean it's you know set in stone for how exactly it's going to be once you get to the frames. And so when you lose that and you're happy with it, it's just so just dagger in the heart. Like that's just gone. You know, whatever
really
magic
is.
you pulled out, recreating it might look even better, but you're still never going to have the thing that you lost, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way to really look back on it. But speaking of storyboarding, that's actually kind of a newer process that I've been recently implementing throughout this animation. Most of my duels up to like Koka, the lizard guy, it's all been straight ahead animation. But usually when I try to like choreograph something longer or more intense, I kind of have to rely on like rougher animation to do so. It's just a lot more freeing to me, so that when I go to clean it up again, it really helps it all come together.
So you do like somewhat animated storyboards ish.
Sometimes some of the storyboards are straight up like they got all in betweens. There's one scene that's animated on mostly ones, but if it's dialogue and stuff, that's where I really like space out the scene.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
frames.
That's what I do too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Should we move on to Q&A? We're already at 55 minutes into this.
What?
I think it's
episode.
a good time. I think it's a good time
Yeah.
for Q&A. Yeah.
All right. Well, first question from Lamations. They asked, do you consider Felix Massey's recent characters G-sticks? And they provided a reference. Let me pull it up real
All
quick.
right.
So they have this animation.
Oh wait, I remember this animation.
Interesting.
Why does the name sound so familiar to me?
This was on Newgrounds, wasn't it? Yeah, this is a Newgrounds guy.
Oh my god, this is so. I can see how this is G-stick the
weird.
other way.
Yeah, no, I
It
can
has
see
less
G-stick.
detail than something what Donnie's doing, but they definitely aren't using like a brush tool for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're definitely drawing the outlines and filling it. Yeah,
There's-
and it's
there's
filling and
shape in
shading.
there.
That's so funny. Like this to me speaks to the spectrum of what G-stick can be considered. You know what I mean?
Huh.
It's so.
I don't
trippy.
think these are G-sticks just because they don't have faces. I think that's like I feel like
Yeah.
for me
For
they
me,
need to have
know.
like expressions.
At least like my personal definition of what G-sticks are is usually if they're not done within like a single stroke of a stick figure that you would normally do.
Yeah.
That's
Kinda
kind of
where
where
I'm
I
at.
might draw the line. Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. And actually, I didn't know that's where I was until you brought it up, Donnie, when we first talked. How you were like, I didn't even think I was a G-stick character or animator, and then I had to think about that, and I was like, yeah, I actually would define it based on whether or not I'm using the brush tool for like the entirety of their body. And the only reason why I initially leaned into G-stick for your stuff in the first place was because you had so much detail. You know, you had the eyes and eyebrows and mouth and like layered hair and all and shading and all these things that I would attribute towards G-stick. But then when you said that, I realized like, oh my God, yeah, you still are basically torso is a brushstroke, arm is a brushstroke, arm is a brushstroke. And then here's the opposite where this person is clearly not brushstroking for the torso and legs. These are drawn outlines that are then later filled, but they're stripped of all the same details I just mentioned. So see, for me, and I could totally agree with what Hyun's saying, and Hatena, I believe we're talking about like the details is kind of like where you draw the line. But I'm more leaning towards what Donnie is saying is like, you know, these aren't single brushstroke, you know, stick figure-y by their nature. They're just lacking the face. But it doesn't mean I'm right. You know, I don't know.
Maybe.
I think it's still being actively defined. But in my stance, I think a big play in what is commonly known as G-stick is line art.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a big... That's a big deciding factor for me.
A good comparison I feel like that could be made is if you look at Zetabrand, they have scarves, they have these outlines.
And they have line art.
And if you were to look at like Cinder or something, I guess what's the difference between hair, a face, or a scarf? If they're just like extensions of the stick figure. I usually personally draw it at the brushstroke itself until it gets to like you're filling in something because you're drawing a shape or something more that's not just a stick figure at that point.
Interesting.
Because if you're using that definition, I feel like you may also be able to classify a lot of Zetabrand animators with scarves and stuff also as
and they also have line art technically on a lot of the outlines, and even how he'll like do some close-ups, he'll outline like the fingers and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it's interesting the G-stick. It is difficult, I think, in one sentence to automatically categorize what it is, and also automatically categorize animations into that without it being up for debate or discussion. Because what we just saw, I personally feel like it's more G-stick leaning than it is stick figure leaning, but I see both sides very clearly. I can see an argument either way, and I am basically in both shoes.
Interesting. We'll move on.
Maybe we should have a debate, like a big debate.
To outline like the exact rules and how you can categorize it of something officially as G-stick, glorified stick figure. For those of you who are just joining us.
Winged Anomaly. Winged Anomaly question asks: how do you guys feel about the current stick figure community? Do you think it's a lot different from what it was in the early days?
I haven't been around long enough to answer that.
Well, when did you join the community, Don?
I think Stone would know. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I've been around for like 7 years, but I only recently discovered the dojo actually had a Discord around like 2020. So yeah, I feel like I haven't been around long enough to properly answer.
Wow. I mean, I haven't been here as long as like Hyun and Stone either, but I think I joined around 2016.
I want to know what Stone thinks because he's been around the longest.
Been here since shortly after the creation of Fire, 2004.
I mean, I was just gonna say that like even since from when I joined the community and was super active, it's even currently it's very different. And I wouldn't say it's either good or bad. It's just different. It's hard to describe.
So the things. This is what I would have to say about it. I would say the things that don't really matter are the things that are most different. And the things that matter the most are very similar. Now I'll explain. So the things that matter very little to me that are very different are like where people are posting, how people are communicating, when people are communicating, and where the projects are being uploaded. If I'm to compare today, what's important in an animation when you're publishing it versus what's important in the animation, what results you're looking for today, It's very different. Where you're posting it, what the kind of numbers you're looking for. Like I remember, like the biggest thing that would happen to your animation when it would go up had little to nothing to do with YouTube. Really, that was like a secondary back burner thing. Getting the front page of Newgrounds was the goal.
God, yeah.
That was the biggest thing you could possibly do, because as soon as it did that, it went throughout the entirety of the internet. Okay, so then I attribute that as a detail that doesn't really matter. That's a function of detail that doesn't matter all that much, because that just transformed. It's not the same thing, but it's the goal now is, you know, getting views on YouTube, having a big YouTube video, or popping off on social media, or having it go big on like Twitter specifically, things like that nature, right? But the core things, the things that really matter, like people being together, having a like interest, day after day after day, going to a place and talking with each other and working with each other. I see the same environment that built and grew Fluid Anims in IRC with 30 to 50 people that would just basically come home, open IRC, and just be there regardless if anything is happening or not. They were just simply there. That's where they just sat their butt down and started animating. That same thing happens now in Discord in the same way. It's just that people are in voice chat, and they're still getting home, dropping everything, talking and PMing throughout the day about they're super excited about this or that, something that they're wanting to work on, or a collab idea that they have, or something that got done the night prior that the person on the other side of the planet, different time zone, you know, gets to see like a huge jump in all this work that you did because they were asleep for the last 10 hours. And you're posting it to them in IRC, and you're going back and forth and super excited about working on a project and passing FLAs back and forth. That's the thing that actually matters. Because at the end of the day, that is what's pushing forward more animation. That's what's getting people more excited about animating. That's what's getting people involved in growing and building the community. And ultimately is what's netting the best output of inspiring animations. And that completes the loop. As soon as the inspiring animation is published, wherever in time and history where that needs to be seen by a lot of people, that in turn gives birth to the next generation of animator that sees it. So, however, in my opinion, it's changed dramatically in a lot of the small details. But the core and most important thing is exactly the same.
Wow.
That's
so
how I feel.
philosophical.
Awesome.
That's a great answer.
Good question.
Okay, next question, I guess. I think that's satisfying.
I think that deserves a round of applause. My goodness. That was amazing.
Incredible.
One of our core philosophers is in this very podcast.
I have like a completely different mindset of that.
It's good.
Yeah, because for me, I feel like it was way different back then compared to today. I mean, like, I feel like today is a lot more tame than back then because, I don't know, like 15 years ago, it was like the community was so tiny, right? Like compared to today. But I feel like the level of passion was really, really high. Everyone was passionate about their stick figures, the way they animated, and it was almost like the passion was so high it was almost toxic, you know what I'm saying? Everyone had like their own, like everyone had like completely different styles back then as well.
Whoa.
And
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's like a Crash King, and one was like RHG's a battle of like Prod, and like a lot of online when you're doing RHG battles. That's what made it really, because it was just like a bunch of really niche group kids that was like really passionate and like something that Bell loved. Saying that, I don't have that now. It's just yeah.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
Cutting out a little bit for you guys.
Yeah, he's cutting out.
Oh,
I
no,
think
am
we're
I
all
cutting
cutting
out?
out. I think it's a global issue right now. One sec.
Everyone
Sarah,
dying a little bit.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Can you hear us?
we'll just wait up a little bit.
I can't. Oh. Can we talk?
Wait, who's
Test?
disconnecting right now? Is it just Discord?
I think it was
It might
just a
be just- I
Discord
think we're
thing.
good. I think Discord had a
It might
wave,
have been
yeah.
Discord.
Yeah.
We had a
Everybody
3.2 earthquake in
started
Discord just now.
robotic.
Okay.
3.2
Oh my
earthquake in
God.
Is
Discord.
everybody okay?
Yeah, I
Is
had a
everyone
little.
okay? Check your lamp. Check your picture frames.
I had a
I
little
don't think any
panic attack.
sidewalks are
I
gonna
thought
be
that was like
reformed.
entirely on my end.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that was
I thought it
funny.
was me because my
Oh my
internet
God.
was blipping out earlier.
Wait, how much of what I said did you guys miss?
So
Uh,
I heard that it was
I think.
A lot of
that it
it.
was like toxic in the sense of like people were very passionate and they had their own very distinct different styles.
Yeah.
And they're really passionate about kind of like defending those styles or kind of one-upping other people and very proud of where they were.
Yeah, it was a lot about like a battle of pride, and that's why RSGs were so intense, I think, back then, because pride was on the line, and like everyone kind of heard about every duel that was happening, or not duel, but RSG. But yeah, interesting takes indeed.
I like it.
I think we're all still good. I just wanted to make sure we're
Yeah, we're
fine.
good.
Seems everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll
Okay.
move on to the next question. We're talking about this one for too long. Here's a quick and easy one. Thunderblaze asks, if they want to duel with Donnie, how would they do that?
I'll write your name on the list.
It's about what I expected.
I'll find you.
I'm animating and I'm doing a lot of duels right now. Mostly one-sided. I don't really expect anything because I'm just like making a bunch of these fan animations with people who don't usually duel, like or people who are actively dueling, but it's usually bigger figures. Although sometimes I may just find somebody random, enticing, and then I'll just duel them right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Sometimes people just have like really interesting duelists,
Yeah. They, like that Soto person is really cool. I would really love to duel them eventually.
Super interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, here's a good question for you. Malware asks, how much of scene assembly is animated movement, and how much is relying on camera for desired effects like impact or combat choreo?
I actually rarely use VCam. Like most of Benjamin and stuff doesn't really have VCam. I only use VCam when it comes to like shaking the camera a little bit sometimes. But like 99% of my animations are all done with just manipulating the stage to look as if there is a camera.
Crazy to me. Like it's really impressive, but it's
Yeah.
just like I'm toxically using VCam since like the beginning of time, and it's because I'm always mostly sat on a very flat 2D plane that is very locked in, no scene changes, one perspective camera angle, and I just have the VCam that kind of like just dances around. But it's so freeing. Like the idea of not having that constraint sounds incredible. Like the ability to be just like freely moving from a perspective to another perspective, not having to be locked in and stuck within a box for the VCam, whether just zoomed in or zoomed out. That's sounds fun.
Like I've shared my screen sometimes and you've seen animation where it's just like you can watch directly from the stage, and there's very little difference compared to when you're watching it on an MP4
Oh, yeah.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes complete sense when you're just glancing at the file.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of background movement. Sometimes I do have to have like a static background and have the camera actually follow. But that's only if the scene is like really difficult and it's not going to work otherwise.
Right. Okay.
All right. Fresh Yellow, I think is how you say that. Apologies if I said that wrong. How do you tackle fight choreography? Any advice for getting better at it, specifically towards Donnie?
I think 90% of it comes from my mind. I don't really reference a lot of things. Like, I do hide references in the animation itself from like media and stuff. But as for like the actual choreography itself, I usually just make the characters punch and kick each other. Maybe they'll jump and do a backflip, or throw some giant fireball or fire arrow. But most of the choreography just comes from my mind.
Let me ask you a question. Where are you on the Fantasia scale?
I can manipulate the atoms within my mind to put together an apple, and I can
All
turn
right,
that apple
buddy.
into an
I can
orange.
5D rotate and assemble
Am I
them.
the only one here that cannot
I can-
atomize and rotate things in my
I can
goddamn
turn
head?
that orange right into a stick figure and then back into an apple.
Awesome.
I can shape tween it
You know,
in
I
my
can actually
mind
make up-
from an apple
can
into
make
a
up-
stick figure.
I can actually make up and see different colors that nobody else can see in my mind.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Oh my.
He's the most hyper Fantasic person I've ever met.
That's such an interesting question. I love that has to be. I have to know now. Like, is it? I feel like because I've now been doing it in discussion with other people outside of the pod where I'm talking with people and asking them like doing the test to see where they're at.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of time it comes up when someone's asking about referencing things, and the people who are like, yeah, I reference this, and that, and I'm like, and I ask them the questions, and it's so far very, very limited results, but it seems like people who can look at and reference more animations more directly, lean more aphantasia versus the people who are Fantasia or Fantasia,
Yeah,
that is be able to like
hyperphantasia.
visualize it more in their head. Yeah, they aren't referencing as direct or as hardlined. Again, it's like 5 people or less, but it's very interesting to see.
Wow, that's
This is why they put me on the floor, man.
you're
I'm
less than
devolving
us.
over here.
You're
No,
less
you're
than
in the
us.
shade. You're in the shade. You got a good
Shade.
spot.
All right. Oh yeah. Remu asks, "Does your animation software ever crash when animating?" Cinder, please answer. So don't Donnie answer. Cinder.
Yeah,
needs
Donnie
to
doesn't need
answer.
it. Cinder has to answer
yeah.
if the software
Cinder has to
crashes.
answer.
What would
Sometimes
Cinder
it
say?
crashes. What would Cinder say? All of this for a bleeping axe. I think that's what he would say. It's a reference. But yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the time, though, my animation, like the software is fine. Rarely does it ever crash, but I had to like, if it crashes a lot, I have to split the animation up into different files to make it smaller.
I've had a fun. It's been, admittedly, it's been a long time since I've had any kind of file corruption, but I'd say my first Flash synced collaboration, I had pretty much the whole thing compiled in one file, which I've learned to not do, because as soon as I was about finished and I was in the polishing stage, which back then, that polishing stage didn't go on for too long, but then it just corrupted and I had to start completely over. I mean, I still had like every animation from all the other animators, but like that still hurt. It sucks. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen to me terribly often though, but I'm chronically making backups everywhere.
Yes.
Like I have one on
Yeah.
the cloud, I have one on a physical drive, I have like 2 copies on the desktop.
That's what I was going to mention. A hard-fought bit of advice for those listeners out there to help combat that is save as in versions. So like when you're working on something in a big project and you're compiling something together, don't just have even just one backup. Literally do 2.1. And then when you save as again and you've been working for a couple hours, save as 2.2. And so now 2.1 still actually exists as a hardline separate file, and you're working now on 2.2. Keep doing that. The closer you get to the end, yes, you'll fill up your disk space fairly quickly if you're working on a massive file, but I promise you it's worth, because if you get to 2.7 and you have a cataclysmic corrupted file, at least you only go back to 2.6 and you lost half the day versus the entire 6 months you've been working on it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I have all of my animations usually on a singular file. So if something were to crash, I would have to restart. So
Donnie.
it's mostly out of laziness and like this dumb confidence.
100%.
Because
I
as
get that.
somebody whose files have corrupted like 10 times over, I don't know.
Save as, brother. Save
Yeah,
as.
save as. I don't know. I'm just
Another-
confident in Adobe.
Nah. Just let them learn. One day.
A big piece of advice that I would have is if your animation is long enough and you can split it up into several different files,
That also
and then
helps
compile it
tremendously.
later in like a video editor or in Swivel. If you're using Animate or Flash and you have the Swivel software, which takes SWIFTs and turns them into MP4s, you can import several different SWIFTs and it will export them in the sequence that you put them in into a
That's
single
great.
MP4. So if you can split up your file to minimize the file size, that also minimizes your chance of your files corrupting.
Very true.
Anyway, or just suffer and test your fate.
It's gonna happen.
All
one
right.
day.
Our last question from POND separately. I refuse to say the whole name. What do you guys think about stick figure animations in the future when things like AI animation kind of messed up the industry right now?
Here we go.
Here
All
I think
right,
it's so
the
niche.
AI question.
Dude,
We're
I think it's so
opening this up?
niche that we're protected.
I'd like to think we're protected.
I think we are protected. I think
Yeah.
I mean, okay, call me biased. I'm gonna take Alan Becker for example.
Mm-hmm.
I know that company, because it is a company, believe it or not, we have an entire team of like tens of animators alone, and we have background, yada yada. We don't use AI at all because
Yeah.
we don't have that interest. We know what art actually is. And while AI can be used as a tool in very sparing situations, I don't think that people need to worry about it as much as they have been. And while I am aware that AI already is affecting the art and animation industry, there are already strikes going on currently. And if there's anything that we've learned from the writers' strike that happened, I think about a year ago, maybe longer, is that we'll eventually get a bill passed that secures those animation jobs. But as far as the content itself, I don't think that AI is going to be replacing animators and artists at all, because a computer can't visualize the complexities that a human hand can.
I kind of disagree because I feel like it'll happen sooner or later. But until then, I feel like my stance is just ignore it and pretend it's not there until it actually affects us. And once
like
it does affect the stick figure industry, right? That is a time when we need to rise up and wave our flags.
Yeah, we get the pitchforks out, dude.
But our turn is not yet. I think right now
Yeah.
it's just affecting the artists, right?
It'll affect everything globally
And we're just
first.
like, oh man, they're getting pretty close, but you know what? It's not in my neighborhood yet. But let's go.
I
Just watch
think
the fire just consume the
Out of
planet. And you're
sight,
like, I'm
out
on
of
our little
sight, out
island
of
of stick
mind.
figures.
I have faith. I have faith in humanity that we won't rely on AI. I keep wanting to say IA because of another project I'm involved in that I can't talk about.
I'm just
Confused
gonna
me so much. But
I'm gonna
go
sit on the
ahead.
winning side on this one.
Sorry, what was that, Donnie? Sorry.
I'm gonna sit on the winning side in this one, whether it be AI or animation.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, guys.
It
if
is
I
what it is
betray you, It
sometimes.
is what it is.
It is what it is, dude.
That has to be the next duel: AI versus Cinder.
If it comes for Hyun's dojo, hey, we'll still be in the community, but we'll all be working at McDonald's.
Yep, you just
Yeah.
gotta scatter and run.
I think everyone's worrying too much personally, but what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm not worried.
I'm
Alrighty.
chilling, dude.
Well, I think we
Oh,
should
I'm a
about
little
wrap
worried.
it up here.
I think that's
you're
great,
not.
dude.
You're not worried. You're not worried.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not worried. What am I talking about?
Donnie,
There's
thanks for
nothing to worry
coming
about.
on, man. Hey, if you're
Thank
listening,
you,
be sure
thank
to check
you.
out the links in the description for not only, of course, the Hyun Dojo merch that is listed down below, but check out those Cinder plushies. There's only 10 of them left.
I already bought 9 of them,
Ever
so
alpha
there's only
run,
one left.
dude.
Oh, and
Absolutely killer, dude.
if I may, I have
Erm.
a little thing of my own.
Oh,
I meant to do it earlier, but then Stone really excitedly, you wanted to talk about your kid's birthday, which happy birthday to him.
sorry.
If anyone cares, I have a song that just released this morning. So if that interests you
let's
at all,
go.
I believe
Let's
that will
go.
also be in
Let's
the
listen
description
to
as
it.
well. We won't listen to it on stream. I think that would be
what?
too much
We
for me.
could have gave our live reactions.
Too much. For
Including
me.
the-
You know
like
what?
the
I'll
100
play
people who are
a
here.
little portion of it, and then I'll end it in the middle of the song.
We gotta give him a
Let's
teaser.
go.
We gotta give him a teaser.
Okay, one sec. God, I gotta find it manually now because I closed out of everything. What did I do?
Hey, it's okay. We got plenty of time, you know.
You can find it on all streaming services, pretty much.
I think
Wait,
I got all the time in
really?
the world.
Yeah, like Spotify, YouTube Music, Pandora, even. It
Wow.
might take a while to get to some streaming services, so if it's not on your favorite, then give it a bit. It might take a little bit, but it is on most already.
Can I find
what
it on
I've-
old-timey crank music players?
Oh, there's the teaser.
If you build it yourself and you get it on there yourself, yeah, you can. You can. I'll play a little bit here, and then I'll just cut the stream eventually, and then the audience.
Wait, so
will
what's
stop
it called, and what's it about?
It's called Something to Look Forward to, and it's about a friend of mine a while ago who helped when I was really sad,
Ah,
and
Let's
that's
go
it.
friendship.
All right. Well, we'll see you later, everyone. After we.
Our
Yeah,
outro.
thank you all for
You know, I
joining the
would-
podcast. Thank you, Donnie.
I would love to
Thanks,
leave,
Donnie.
but the hot slide has melted my back to it, so I'm currently stuck here.
That's okay. You're part of this time.
Yay! This is a great outro.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
bye.
Hey, what the hell? I was like, that's it.
Yep. I already ended it.